Jake Morrison pushed through the busy crowd at New Geneva Station's main market. The air smelled like fried food and metal polish. People from dozens of different planets walked past him, talking in languages he didn't understand. Some had blue skin, others had too many arms, and a few floated instead of walking. He was tired after his long shift at the security office. All he wanted was to buy some coffee and go back to his small apartment. But then he heard something that made him stop walking. Music. Not the electronic beats that played in most of the shops, or the strange singing that came from the alien districts. This was different. This was a violin. Jake had not heard a real violin in years. Not since he left Earth 5 years ago to work on this frontier station. The sound pulled at something deep in his chest, something he thought he had forgotten. He followed the music through the crowd, past the food vendors selling grilled meat that looked nothing like anything from Earth, past the electronics shop where a purple alien was arguing with the owner about the price of a translator device, past the clothing store where humans and aliens alike were trying on strange fashions. The music got louder and more beautiful. Jake turned a corner and saw her. A young woman sat on a small folding chair near a fountain in the center of the market square. She had long brown hair that fell over her shoulders as she played. Her eyes were closed, and she swayed gently with the music. The violin rested under her chin, like it belonged there. She was playing a song Jake recognized. It was an old Earth song, something from decades ago. But the way she played it made it sound new and fresh. What surprised Jake even more was the crowd around her. At least 30 people had stopped to listen. And they weren't all human. 3 Zilari merchants stood near the front. Their tall, thin bodies swayed slightly as they listened. Their usually serious faces looked peaceful. Jake had never seen Zilari look peaceful before. They were always busy, always talking about business and profit. Behind them, a group of 4 Vorthic clustered together. The crystal-like aliens were slowly changing colors as the music played. First blue, then green, then a soft purple. Jake knew that Vorthic only changed colors when they felt strong emotions. He had never seen them do it in public before. Even more surprising, a family of Grudic had stopped their shopping to listen. The bear-like aliens usually avoided crowds. They preferred to shop quickly and leave. But now they sat on the ground, their children quiet and still. The woman played another song. This one was faster, more energetic. Jake recognized it too. It was from a band that had been popular when he was young. But again, she made it sound completely different. Better, somehow. A small felinoid with orange fur started moving to the rhythm. Its tail swished back and forth. Other aliens began to tap their feet or claws, or whatever they had. Some humans in the crowd started smiling and nodding their heads. Jake moved closer. He wanted to see her face when she opened her eyes. The violin case at her feet was open. A few coins and small bills were scattered inside, but not many. A handwritten sign leaned against the case. It read, "Music from Earth. Thank you for listening." The woman finished the song and opened her eyes. They were green, and they sparkled with something Jake couldn't quite name. Joy, maybe, or hope. "Thank you," she said to the crowd. Her voice was soft but clear. "I'm Katie Allen. I've been on New Geneva Station for about 3 months now. I play music from Earth, but I also learn songs from other worlds." She looked around at the mixed crowd of humans and aliens. "Music is something we all understand." She continued, "It doesn't matter what planet we come from or what language we speak. When we hear music, we feel something together." A young human boy near the front raised his hand. "Can you play something happy?" Katie smiled. "Of course." She lifted the violin again and began to play. This time, Jake didn't recognize the song, but it was definitely happy. It made him think of sunshine and running through fields and laughing. With friends, the crowd grew larger. More aliens stopped to listen. Jake saw species he had never seen together before, all standing in the same space, all listening to the same music. A Karolina trader with skin like smooth stone closed its shop early to listen. A group of young Zelari who had been arguing about something stopped their fight and came over. Even a few Andromedans, who usually kept to themselves in the upper levels of the station, had come down to the market. Katie played for another 20 minutes. She played sad songs that made some people cry. She played exciting songs that made others dance. She played gentle songs that made the alien children fall asleep in their parents' arms. When she finally stopped, the crowd applauded. Humans clapped their hands. Zelari made a clicking sound with their tongues. Vorthik changed to a bright, happy yellow color. The Grudic stomped their feet softly. People began to drop money into her violin case. Not just humans, but aliens too. Some gave coins, others gave small gems or pieces of metal that served as currency on their world's dot. As the crowd started to break up, Jake walked over to Katie. "That was incredible," he said. "I'm Jake Morrison. I work security here on the station." "Nice to meet you, Jake." Katie smiled as she put her violin away. "I hope I wasn't causing any trouble." "I checked the regulations, and busking is allowed in the public areas." "No trouble at all," Jake said. "I've never seen anything like that. All those different species, just listening together. How do you do it?" Katie shrugged. "I don't know. I just play music I love, and people seem to like it. Music is universal, I think. It speaks to something inside all of us." Jake looked around the market square. The aliens were going back to their shopping, but something had changed. They seemed more relaxed, more friendly. A Zelari merchant was actually smiling at a human customer. Two Vorthik children were playing with a human child near the fountain. "Will you be here tomorrow?" Jake asked. "Every day," Katie said. "Same time, same place. Music makes this place feel more like home." Jake nodded and walked away. But as he headed back to his apartment, he couldn't stop thinking about what he had seen. And he couldn't stop humming the melodies Katie had played, for the first time since. Coming to New Geneva Station, Jake felt like he belonged somewhere. 3 days after Jake first heard Katie play, something strange happened in the council tower. The tower was the tallest building on New Geneva Station. It reached up into space itself, with offices for the Galactic Council representatives. Most humans never went there. Most humans were not allowed there, but Zeph Kane was different. Zeph had been born on Earth, just like Katie and Jake. But 15 years ago, he had been chosen for a special program. The Galactic Council wanted humans to work for them. They said it would help humans understand their place in the galaxy. Now Zeph worked as a cultural analyst. His job was to study human behavior and report back to the council. He lived in the tower, far above the market, where ordinary people shopped and worked. On this particular morning, Zeph was reading reports at his desk when his supervisor called him. "Zeph," said the voice through his communicator. "Report to conference. Room 7 immediately." Zeph put down his coffee and walked quickly through the halls of the tower. The halls were made of smooth metal that reflected light in strange ways. Everything was clean and cold and quiet. Conference room 7 was larger than most. When Zeph entered, he saw 5 council members waiting for him. At the head of the table sat Counselor X9. She was not really a she in the human sense. THEX9 was part of a hive mind species called the Nexari. Her body looked like a tall, thin human woman, but her skin was silver and her eyes were completely black. "Zeph Kane," X9 said. Her voice sounded like many people talking at once. "We have a situation that requires your expertise." "Of course, Counselor," Zeph replied. He sat down in the chair across from her. The other council members were species Zeph knew well. There was Gorth Prime, a massive Grudic whose fur was gray with age. Next to him sat Vessel Hicks, an Andromedan whose body looked like flowing water in a clear container. The Zelari representative, Trademaster Vex, tapped her long fingers on the table. At the far end sat Core Singer Zix, a Vorthic whose crystal body was currently a dull red color. Tell me, Vex9 continued, what do you know about human musical activities on the lower levels of this station? Zeph was surprised. Musical activities? That seemed like a strange thing for the council to worry about. I'm not aware of any specific activities, Counselor, he said. Is there a problem? Vex9 touched a control panel on the table. A holographic screen appeared in the air above them. It showed the market square where Katie played her violin. For the past week, Vex9 said, our monitoring systems have detected unusual behavioral patterns in the civilian population. Multiple species are gathering in public spaces for extended periods. They are showing decreased aggression levels and increased cooperation. The hologram showed Katie playing her violin. It showed the crowd of humans and aliens listening together. This behavior, Vex9 continued, appears to be connected to this human female and her acoustic activities. Zeph watched the hologram with growing interest. He had never seen anything like it. Different alien species standing together, listening to human music. It was remarkable, but he could tell from the way the council members looked that they did not think it was remarkable. They thought it was dangerous. What concerns us, said Trademaster Vex, is the speed of this behavioral change. Our species have coexisted on this station for decades with minimal interaction. Suddenly, they are gathering together, listening together. Some are even communicating across species barriers. Yesterday, added Gorth Prime in his deep, rumbling voice, I observed a group of Zelari children playing with human and Vorthic children in the recreation area. This has never happened before. Core Singer Zix's crystal body shifted to a darker red. The harmonic frequencies produced by this human's instrument are affecting neural patterns across multiple species. We do not understand how or why. Zeph looked at the hologram again. Katie was playing something beautiful and sad. The aliens in the crowd looked peaceful and happy. Is this necessarily a bad thing? Zeph asked carefully. Increased cooperation between species could be beneficial for trade, and that is not your decision to make. Vex9 interrupted, her black eyes fixed on Zeph's face. Your job is to analyze and report, not to make policy recommendations. Of course, Counselor. My apologies. Vex9 stood up. The other council members followed her lead. You will go to the lower levels, she said. You will observe this human and her activities. You will determine if this represents a security threat to council authority. What kind of security threat could one musician represent? Zeph asked. The question seemed to anger the council members. Gorth Prime growled softly. Trademaster Vex's fingers stopped tapping and curled into fists. Human, said Vessel Hicks, its watery voice bubbling. Your species has been in space for less than 100 years. You do not understand the complexities of maintaining order among dozens of different civilizations. For thousands of years, Vex9 added, the Council has maintained peace through careful separation of species. Each species has its place, its role, its boundaries. When those boundaries blur, conflict follows. But the humans and aliens in the market seem happy together, Zeph said. Happiness is not the goal, Vex9 replied coldly. Order is the goal. Stability is the goal. When species begin to ignore their designated roles and interact freely, the entire system becomes unstable. Zeph nodded, but inside he was starting to understand something troubling. The Council was not concerned about conflict between species. They were concerned about cooperation between species. You will report back to us in 3 days, X9 said. You will tell us everything about this human musician. Where she came, from why she is here, what her intentions are, and you will recommend appropriate action. What kind of action? Zeph asked. That depends on what you discover, X9 said. But understand this, Zeph Kane. The Council has ways of dealing with humans who disrupt the natural order. We have relocated entire colonies when necessary. We have restricted travel and communication. We have even been forced to limit human reproduction in certain sectors. The threat was clear. If Katie's music was seen as a problem, the Council would not just stop her from playing. They would punish all humans on the station. I understand, Counselor, Zeph said. Good, you are dismissed. Zeph left the conference room and walked back through the cold, quiet halls of the tower. But his mind was racing. He had always believed that he was helping humans by working for the Council. He thought he was building bridges between species, making life better for human colonies throughout the galaxy. But now he was starting to wonder if he had been wrong. As he reached his office, Zeph made a decision. He would go to the market square. He would listen to Katie Allen play her violin, and he would decide for himself whether her music was a threat to the galaxy or something much more important. That's something that the Council was afraid of for all the wrong reasons. The same day that Zeph left the Council Tower, Katie finished her afternoon performance in the market square. She was packing her violin when a man approached her. He was older than most of the humans on the station, maybe 50 years old. His hair was gray at the edges, and he had kind eyes. But there was something careful about the way he moved, like someone who had learned to be quiet. That was beautiful, he said to Katie. I haven't heard music like that in years. Thank you, Katie replied. She was always polite to people who stopped to talk after her performances. I'm Katie Allen. Marcus Webb, the man said. He looked around the market square, then back at Katie. I used to be a musician too, back on Earth, before I came here. Really? What did you play? Guitar mostly. Some piano. Marcus smiled, but it was a sad smile. I had to stop when I got here. The Council has rules about what kind of music we can play in public. Katie frowned. Rules? What kind of rules? Marcus looked around again. There were still people walking through the market, but most had gone back to their shopping. Can I buy you a coffee? Marcus asked. There are some things I think you should. No. 20 minutes later, Katie and Marcus sat in a small cafe in the human district of the station. The cafe was called Earth Memories, and it tried to look like the coffee shops Katie remembered from home. But the coffee was made from alien beans, and the walls were metal instead of wood. How long have you been playing here? Marcus asked. About 2 weeks, Katie said. Ever since I arrived on the station. And no one from station security has talked to you? Not really. A security officer named Jake Morrison talked to me once, but he was just being friendly. He said I wasn't causing any trouble? Marcus nodded slowly. You're not causing trouble, but you are causing something, and the Council doesn't like it. Katie felt a cold feeling in her stomach. What do you mean? Marcus leaned forward and spoke more quietly. Katie, what you're doing with your music is special. I've seen the crowds that gather to listen to you. I've seen how the different alien species react to your playing. They're not just listening, they're connecting. Isn't that good? It should be, Marcus said. But the Galactic Council doesn't want different species to connect. They want us all to stay separate. They want humans to work with humans, Zilari, to trade with Zilari, Vorthik to live with Vorthik. When species start mixing, the Council gets nervous. Katie thought about this. She remembered how peaceful the crowds looked when she played, how the Zilari merchants seemed less stressed, how the Vorthik children played with human children after her performances. There are others, Marcus continued. Other humans who believe that art and music and creativity are too important to give up. We meet sometimes. We share our work with each other. You mean there's like a secret group? Not exactly secret, but we're careful. We have to be. Marcus reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. It looked like a music player, but more advanced than anything Katie had seen before. This contains music from dozens of human artists who live on different stations and colonies throughout this sector, he said. Some play instruments. Some sing. Some write poetry or paint pictures. All of them are doing what you're doing, sharing human creativity with alien species. Katie took the device and looked at it. What happens if the council finds out? Different things. Sometimes they relocate people to stations where there are only humans. Sometimes they restrict travel so artists can't visit other worlds. In the worst cases, they shut down entire colonies and move everyone to isolated planets. The cold feeling in Katie's stomach got worse. They can do that? They have done that, Marcus said. 3 years ago, there was a human colony on Kepler 442b. The colonists there were sharing Earth music and art with the native species. The natives loved it. They started creating their own art based on human styles. The council said it was cultural contamination and moved all the humans to a mining station in empty space. Katie put the music player down on the table. Maybe I should stop playing in public. No, Marcus said quickly. That's exactly what they want. They want us to be afraid. They want us to hide our creativity and just follow their rules. But if I keep playing, I could put everyone in danger. Marcus smiled, and this time it was not sad. Katie, do you know what makes humans special in this galaxy? Katie shook her head. Most alien species are good at one or two things. Thalari are excellent traders. Vorthok are great engineers. Grudik are strong and brave. Andromedans are brilliant scientists. But humans are good at everything. We adapt. We learn. We create. Marcus gestured toward the window of the cafe. Outside, Katie could see the market square where she played every day. What you do with your music, bringing different species together, helping them understand each other, that's uniquely human. The council knows this. That's why they're afraid of us. I'm just one person with a violin. You're one person who can make a Zalari merchant forget about profit long enough to enjoy a beautiful song. You're one person who can make Vorthok children change colors with joy. You're one person who can make different species see each other as friends instead of strangers. Marcus leaned back in his chair. There are others who want to help. Lisa Park is a dancer who performs in the entertainment district. She's been working with felinoid dancers to create new styles that combine human and alien movement. Ryan Cole writes poetry that gets translated into alien languages. Nina Ross creates digital art that tells stories about cooperation between species. They're all here on this station? Some are here. Others are on different stations and colonies. But we stay in contact. We share ideas. We support each other. Katie picked up the music player again. What do you want me to do? Keep playing, Marcus said. Keep bringing people together, but be smart about it. Learn about the species that come to listen to you. Find out what kinds of music they like. Maybe even learn some of their songs. And if the council tries to stop me? Marcus's expression became serious. Then we'll deal with that when it happens. But Katie, what you're doing is bigger than just music. You're showing the galaxy that humans and aliens can live together, work together, create together. That's a message the council doesn't want people to hear. Katie thought about everything Marcus had told her. It was scary to think that her simple violin performances could be seen as dangerous. But it was also exciting to think that her music could be part of something important. Okay, she said finally. I'll keep playing. but I want to meet the others. Lisa and Ryan and Nina. If we're going to do this, we should do it together." Marcus smiled his first truly happy smile since they had started talking. "I was hoping you would say that." He stood up and reached for his jacket. "There's a meeting tomorrow night. Sector 7, Maintenance Room 12B. Can you be there at 8 o'clock? "I'll be there." As Marcus walked away, Katie sat alone in the cafe and thought about her violin. When she had packed it to come to New Geneva Station, she had just wanted to make enough money playing music to pay for food and shelter. Now it seemed like her violin might be the key to something much bigger, something that could change how humans and aliens live together in the galaxy. She finished her coffee and walked back to her small apartment. Tomorrow night, she would meet other humans who believed in the power of art to bring people together. And tomorrow afternoon, she would play her violin in the market square, just like always. But now she would play with a purpose, beyond just making music. She would play to show the galaxy what humans could do, the cold, quiet halls of the tower. But his mind was racing. He had always believed that he was helping humans by working for the Council. He thought he was building bridges between species, making life better for human colonies throughout the galaxy. But now he was starting to wonder if he had been wrong. As he reached his office, Zeph made a decision. He would go to the market square. He would listen to Katie Allen play her violin, and he would decide for himself whether her music was a threat to the galaxy or something much more important, something that the Council was afraid of for all the wrong reasons. The next evening, Katie found Maintenance Room 12B in Sector 7. It was deep in the station's mechanical levels, where the air recyclers hummed and the gravity generators made the floor vibrate slightly. She knocked on the door 3 times. The way Marcus had told her to. The door opened, and Marcus smiled at her. "Come in, Katie. Everyone's excited to meet you." The room was bigger than Katie had expected. Old maintenance equipment was stacked along the walls, but someone had arranged chairs in a circle in the middle. 5 people sat waiting for her. "Everyone," Marcus said, "this is Katie Allen, the violinist I told you about." A woman with short black hair and muscular arms stood up first. "I'm Lisa Park," she said, shaking Katie's hand. "I'm a dancer. Well, I was a dancer. Now I clean offices during the day and dance in secret at night." Next was a thin man with glasses who looked like he spent a lot of time reading. "Ryan Cole," he said, "I write poetry. Some of it even rhymes." He smiled when he said this, and Katie could tell he was making a joke. The third person was a young woman with bright blue hair and paint stains on her fingers. "Nina Ross," she said. "Digital artist and general troublemaker." She grinned at Katie. "I've heard your music is causing quite a stir with the Council." The fourth person surprised Katie. She was an older woman with gray hair and the kind of clothes that important people wore. "Dr. Amy Chun," she said in a formal voice. "I'm a xenobiologist. I study alien life forms for the station's research division." The last person was also unexpected. He was wearing a military uniform with lieutenant's bars on his shoulders. Katie recognized him immediately. "Jake Morrison," he said. "We met at your first performance." Katie was confused. "You're here? But you work for station security." "I work for station security," Jake said. "But I believe in what you're doing. I've seen how your music affects people. It's something special." Marcus gestured for everyone to sit down. "Katie, before we go any further, I need to tell you something important. Dr. Chun has made a discovery about your music. About all human music, actually." Dr. Chun opened a tablet and showed Katie a series of colorful charts and graphs. "I've been studying the brain scans of various alien species who have listened to human music," Dr. Chun said. "What I found was remarkable. Human music contains mathematical patterns that match the neural frequencies of most known sapient species. Katie looked at the charts, but they didn't make much sense to her. What does that mean? It means, Dr. Chun continued, that when aliens listen to human music, their brains respond in ways that are similar to how human brains respond. The music creates emotional connections across species barriers. That's why the Zelari merchants look so peaceful when you play, Lisa added. That's why the Vorthic children change colors. That's why the Grudic families sit and listen instead of rushing through their shopping. Human music is like a universal language, Ryan said. It speaks to something deep inside all thinking beings. Nina leaned forward in her chair. And that's exactly why the council is afraid of it. Katie felt overwhelmed. I just play songs I like. I'm not trying to do anything scientific. That's what makes it even more amazing, Dr. Chun said. This ability evolved naturally in humans. Over thousands of years, as humans developed music and art, we unconsciously created patterns that could communicate across any species barrier. Jake cleared his throat. There's something else you need to know, Katie. I've been monitoring council communications as part of my security duties. They're planning to do something about your performances. The room became very quiet. What kind of something? Marcus asked. They've assigned a human agent named Zeph Kane to investigate Katie and report back to them. Zeph has been watching her performances for the past 3 days. Katie remembered seeing a man in expensive clothes standing at the back of her crowds recently. He never came close or put money in her violin case, but he watched everything carefully. Who is Zeph Kane? She asked. He's a human who works for the council, Jake said. He's what they call a cultural analyst. His job is to study human behavior and identify potential problems. Problems, Nina said angrily. They think human creativity is a problem. Dr. Chun looked at her tablet again. Actually, from the council's perspective, it is a problem. I've been researching council history. For thousands of years, they've maintained peace in the galaxy by keeping different species separate. Each species has specific roles and territories. They trade with each other, but they don't really interact on a personal level. But your music, Katie, Lisa said, makes different species want to interact, want to understand each other, want to be friends. The council sees this as dangerous, Ryan added. If species start working together too closely, they might not need the council to manage their relationships. Marcus stood up and walked to a small table where he had set up what looked like a communication device. That's why we're here, he said. All of us believe that human creativity is too important to hide. We believe that art and music and dance and poetry can make the galaxy a better place. What are you suggesting? Katie asked. Nia grinned. We're suggesting that instead of hiding from the council, we show them exactly what human creativity can do. Jake looked uncomfortable. That sounds dangerous. It is dangerous, Marcus said. But hiding is also dangerous. The council has been quietly suppressing human artists for decades, moving them to isolated colonies, restricting their travel, breaking up communities. Dr. Chun closed her tablet. I've been in contact with human scientists and artists on other stations throughout this sector. The same thing is happening everywhere. Humans create art that brings species together, and the council shuts it down. How many others are there? Katie asked. Marcus touched his communication device. The screen lit up showing a map of local space. Dozens of points were marked in different colors. Each colored dot represents a human colony or station where artists are working, Marcus said. Red dots are places where the council has already taken action against human creativity. Yellow dots are places where humans are being watched closely. Green dots are places where humans are still working freely. Katie counted the dots. There were at least 50 red ones, 30 yellow ones, and only about 20 green ones. We're losing, she said quietly. We're losing because we're not working together, Nina said. Each colony or station tries to handle things on their own. But if we coordinate our efforts, Lisa continued, we could show the galaxy what happens when humans and aliens truly cooperate. Brian pulled out a notebook full of handwritten pages. I've been writing about this for months. Poems about cooperation between species. Stories about humans and aliens working together to solve problems. The response from alien readers has been incredible. My dance performances with felinoid partners have been drawing huge audiences, Lisa added. Humans and aliens are hungry for this kind of cooperation. Jake shook his head. But if the council decides that human creativity is a real threat, they won't just relocate a few artists. They'll shut down entire human colonies. They have the power to do that. The room was quiet for a moment. Everyone knew Jake was right. Finally, Katie spoke. What if we could prove that human creativity makes the galaxy more peaceful, not more dangerous? What if we could show the council that art brings species together in good ways? Dr. Chun looked up from her notes. That would require a very large demonstration, something that couldn't be ignored or suppressed. Marcus smiled. Katie, I think you just described exactly what we need to do. Katie looked around the room at the faces of her new friends, artists and scientists and even a security officer, all united by the belief that human creativity was worth fighting for. Then let's do it, she said. Let's show the galaxy what human music can really accomplish. 3 weeks later, Katie stood in the market square with her violin, but today was different. Today, she was scared. That morning, Jake had brought terrible news to their secret meeting. The council had made their decision about human artistic expression. In 7 days, all human colonies in this sector would receive new regulations. No public performances. No sharing of Earth music with alien species. No artistic collaboration between humans and non-humans. Humans who broke these rules would be relocated to isolated mining stations. But Marcus and the others had a plan. They called it the harmonic resistance. For the past 3 weeks, they had been secretly contacting human artists on dozens of stations and colonies. Tonight, at exactly the same time, humans across the galaxy would perform together. Katie looked at the small communication device hidden in her violin case. It was connected to a network that Nina had built using stolen council technology. Through this network, Katie's performance would be broadcast to every human colony in the sector. And at the same time, artists on those other worlds would be performing too. The plan was ambitious and dangerous. If it worked, it would show the galaxy that human creativity could unite species across vast distances. If it failed, the council would punish every human involved. Katie began to play her violin. It was early afternoon, her usual time, and people began to gather as always. But today, she noticed something different. There were more aliens than usual. Word about her performances had spread throughout the station. She saw species she had never seen before. Some had traveled from other parts of the galaxy just to hear human music. As she played, Katie watched the crowd grow larger. Zalari merchants closed their shops early to listen. Vorthic families brought picnic lunches and sat on the ground. Even the usually shy Andromedans had come down from the upper levels of the station. But Katie also noticed council security guards positioned around the square. They wore the black uniforms of the Galactic Council Enforcement Division. They were not station security like Jake. These were council soldiers, and they were watching everything. In the crowd, Katie spotted Zeph Kane. The council spy stood near the fountain, recording everything with a small device. Their eyes met for a moment, and Katie saw something in his expression that surprised her. He looked sad. Katie finished her first song and spoke to the crowd, just like always. Thank you for listening, she said. Today is a special day. Today, humans across the galaxy are sharing music with their alien friends and neighbors. This is a celebration of what we can accomplish when we work together. She lifted her violin again, but before she could play, one of the council guards stepped forward. Human musician, the guard said. His voice was electronically modified to translate into multiple languages at once. By order of the Galactic Council, you will cease this performance immediately. The crowd made sounds of disappointment and anger. A Zilari merchant shouted, "Let her play." A group of Vorthic children began to cry. Katie looked at the guard, then at the crowd, then at the hidden communication device in her violin case. "I'm sorry," she said to the guard, "but I have friends waiting for me to play. Friends on dozens of different worlds. I can't let them down." She began to play again. This time, she played a song that Marcus had composed specially for today. It was called Voices of the Galaxy, and it included musical elements from 12 different alien species. As Katie played the Earth violin parts, the communication device in her case began broadcasting her performance to human colonies throughout the sector. And from those colonies, other performances began broadcasting back. Through the device, Katie could hear Lisa Park dancing with Felinoid partners on Kepler Station. The sound of their feet moving in rhythm with her violin created a beautiful combination. From the mining colony on Titan 7, she heard Ryan Cole reading his poetry while a human guitarist played behind him. The poem was about friendship between humans and Grudic miners, and Katie could hear Grudic voices joining in with their own traditional songs. Nina Ross was creating digital art in real time on New Earth Colony, using Katie's music as inspiration. Through the communication network, her art was being projected onto buildings across dozens of worlds. But the most amazing thing was what happened in the Market Square Dot as Katie played and the other performances joined through the broadcast. Something magical occurred. The aliens in the crowd began to add their own voices to the music. The Zilari merchants started, humming a harmony that matched Katie's violin perfectly. The Vorthic children began changing colors in rhythm with the music, creating a visual dance that complemented the sounds. The Grudic families began a traditional foot-stomping pattern that provided a steady beat. Even the usually quiet Andromedans began to glow softly, their light bodies pulsing in time with the melody. More council guards appeared around the square. Their leader, a tall Nexari officer, spoke into his communicator. "Central Command," he said, "the situation is escalating. The human performance is causing unprecedented interspecies cooperation. Multiple worlds are now involved." Katie could hear the response through her hidden device. Council communications were being intercepted by Nina's network. "Maintain position," came the reply from the council tower. "Do not interfere until we have assessed the full scope of this event." Katie realized that the council was afraid to stop the performance. Too many people were watching now. Too many species were involved. If the council used force to shut down the music, it would prove to everyone that they were more interested in control than peace. The performance continued for another hour. More and more aliens joined in with their own musical traditions. The communication network carried the sounds to other worlds, where more humans and aliens added their voices. By the time Katie finally stopped playing, the performance had spread to over 50 worlds and involved hundreds of thousands of people from dozens of different species. The crowd in the market square applauded for nearly 10 minutes. Humans clapped, Zilari clicked, Vorthic changed to bright, happy colors. Grudic stomped their feet, and Andromedans flashed brilliant patterns of light as the crowd began to disperse. Something unexpected happened. Zeph Kane walked over to Katie. "That was remarkable," he said quietly. "I've never seen anything like it." Katie was surprised. She had expected him to arrest her, or at least threaten her. Aren't you going to report me to the council? She asked. Zeph looked around to make sure the council guards weren't listening. I am going to report to the council, he said. But I'm going to tell them the truth about what I saw here today. What did you see? I saw proof that human creativity doesn't cause conflict between species. It ends conflict between species. Zeph paused. I saw the future of the galaxy, and it's beautiful. Katie packed her violin as the last of the crowd left the square. The council guards were still watching, but they made no move to stop her. As she walked back to her apartment, Katie felt a mixture of hope and worry. The harmonic resistance had succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. Humans and aliens across the galaxy had proven that they could work together, create together, and live together in harmony. But she also knew that the council would not give up easily. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new threats, and new attempts to silence human creativity. The real test was just beginning. 2 days after the harmonic resistance, Katie received a message she never expected. The Galactic Council wanted to see her. Jake delivered the message to her apartment early in the morning. He looked worried. They want you in the council tower. At noon, he said. Conference room 1. That's the main chamber where they hold official hearings. Katie felt her stomach drop. Are they going to arrest me? I don't know, Jake said honestly. But Marcus thinks this might actually be good news. Good news? How could this be good news? Jake sat down at Katie's small kitchen table. The council has been getting reports from all over the galaxy. The harmonic resistance wasn't just heard on 50 worlds. It was heard on over 300 worlds. And something amazing has been happening since then. What kind of something? Species that have been in conflict for decades are suddenly talking to each other. Trade disputes are being resolved. Border conflicts are ending. All because they shared music together during your performance. Katie made coffee for both of them. Her hands were shaking slightly. Marcus thinks the council might be ready to listen, Jake continued. Especially after Zeph Kane's report. What did Zeph tell them? The truth. That human creativity brings species together instead of driving them apart. That music and art can solve problems that politics and military force cannot solve. At noon, Katie walked into the council tower. She had never been inside before. The building was even more impressive from the inside than the outside. Everything was made of smooth metal and crystal that seemed to glow with its own light. She rode an elevator up 97 floors to conference room 1. When the doors opened, she stepped into the largest room she had ever seen. The chamber was circular, with seats arranged in rising circles around a central platform. Representatives from dozens of alien species sat in those seats, all looking down at Katie as she walked to the platform. At the front of the chamber sat the 5 council members she had seen in Zeph's holographic reports. Counselor X9, the Nexari hive mind representative, sat in the center. Katie Allen, X9 said. Her voice echoed through the chamber. You stand before the Galactic Council to answer for your actions 2 days ago. Katie's voice was small in the huge room. Yes, Counselor. Do you understand the seriousness of what you have done? Katie thought about this question carefully. Yes, Counselor. I brought people together with music. There were murmurs from the assembled representatives. Some sounded angry. Others sounded amused. You organized an illegal gathering across multiple worlds, said Trade Master Vex, the Zalari. Representative. You used stolen council technology to broadcast across sovereign territories. You encouraged interspecies activities that violate established cultural boundaries. I played my violin, Katie said simply. Other people chose to listen. Other people chose to join in. Gorth Prime, the massive Grudic representative, leaned forward. Human, do you know how many conflicts have begun because species tried to mix their cultures? No, sir. But I know how many conflicts have ended since our performance 2 days ago. This caused more murmurs. Counselor X9 raised her hand for silence. Explain, she said. Katie took a deep breath. She had practiced this moment with Marcus and the others. Before our performance, there were 17 active border disputes in this sector. Today, there are 3. The Zilari-Vorthik trade war ended yesterday when both sides agreed to share cultural exchanges along with their business deals. The Grudic colonies that have been fighting over mining rights on Kepler-7 decided to work together after their children played music together during our broadcast. Katie paused and looked around the chamber. Counselors, representatives, I'm not a politician or a diplomat. I'm just a musician. But I've seen what happens when different species share something beautiful together. They stop being afraid of each other. They start being curious about each other. They become friends. Core singer Zix, the Vorthik representative, shifted to a thoughtful blue color. The human speaks of friendship between species. But friendship can lead to dependence. Dependence can lead to conflict when needs are not met. With respect, counselor, Katie said, that sounds like something people say when they've never had real friends. The chamber was completely quiet. Katie realized she had just insulted a council member. But before anyone could respond, Vessel Hicks, the Andromedan representative, began to glow brighter. The human has a point, Hicks said in its bubbling voice. Our policies are based on preventing negative outcomes. But what if we focused on creating positive outcomes instead? X9 looked at her fellow council members. This hearing was called to determine appropriate punishment for the human's violation of cultural separation protocols. Are you suggesting we should not punish her? I am suggesting, Hicks replied, that perhaps our protocols are the problem, not the human's actions. Gorth Prime growled softly. We have maintained peace in this galaxy for 3,000 years by keeping species separate. Have we maintained peace? Asked a new voice. Everyone turned to see Zeph Kane walking into the chamber. He was not supposed to be there, but the council guards let him pass. Zeph Kane, X9 said coldly, you are not summoned to this hearing. No, counselor. But I have information that the council needs to hear. Zeph walked to the center platform and stood next to Katie. He activated a holographic display that showed a map of the galaxy. This is a record of conflicts in our sector over the past 3,000 years, he said. The map filled with red dots, thousands of them. Trade wars, border disputes, cultural conflicts, resource battles. We call this peace, but it looks more like controlled warfare. He touched a control, and the map changed. This is a record of conflicts in our sector since the harmonic resistance 2 days ago. Most of the red dots disappeared. 17 major disputes resolved. 43 minor conflicts ended. 6 new trade agreements. 3 interspecies research partnerships formed. Zeph turned to face the council. Counselors, in 2 days, human. Creativity has accomplished more for galactic peace than our separation policies have accomplished in decades. Trade Master Vex's fingers drummed on her chair. Even if this is true, how do we know it will last? How do we know this cooperation will not turn into dependence and then conflict? Katie stepped forward. You don't know. But you also don't know that separation will prevent conflict forever. The only way to find out is to try. She reached into her case and pulled out her violin. May I? She asked. X-9 nodded slowly. Katie began to play. She played the song that had started everything, the one she had played on her first day in the Yao. Market Square. But this time, something wonderful happened. One by one, the representatives in the chamber began to add their voices. The Zilari clicked in harmony. The Vorthik changed colors and rhythm. The Grudic hummed deep bass notes. The Andromedans pulsed with gentle light. Even the council members joined in. X9's multiple voices created a complex harmony. Gorth Prime's growls became a percussion beat. Core singer Zix shifted through a rainbow of colors. Vessel Hicks's glow brightened and dimmed with the melody. Trademaster Vex's finger drumming became part of the rhythm. When the song ended, the chamber was silent for a long moment. Finally, X9 spoke. Katie Allen, the Galactic Council has reached a decision. Katie held her breath. Effective immediately. The cultural separation protocols are suspended. Humans and all species are free to share their art, music, and creativity across all Council territories. The chamber erupted in sounds of approval from dozens of different species. Furthermore, X9 continued, the Council hereby establishes the interspecies cultural exchange with headquarters on New Geneva Station. Katie Allen will serve as Earth's first cultural ambassador. Katie felt tears in her eyes. Thank you. Counselors. Thank you, Katie Allen, X9 said. You have shown us that sometimes the greatest courage is simply sharing something beautiful with others. 6 months later, Katie stood in the same market square where everything had started. But now it was called Harmony Square, and it was the center of the largest cultural festival the galaxy had ever seen. Humans and aliens from hundreds of worlds had come to New Geneva Station to share their music, art, dance, and stories. The festival would last for a week, and it would be broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. Katie raised her violin and began to play. But she was no longer playing alone. She was part of an orchestra that included musicians from 30 different species, all playing together, all creating something beautiful that none of them could have created alone. As the music filled the square and spread out to the stars, Katie smiled. Her violin had started as a simple street performance. Now it was part of a new symphony of cooperation that would play throughout the galaxy for generations to come. The echo of her violin had become the voice of unity itself.